Do you love being a coach, but you can't stand the aspects of selling? Or selling one of the least favorite parts of your business and you just much rather focus on delivering for clients? If yes, then I have a training that you are going to want to watch. In this video, I'm going to break step by step down how you can go ahead and sell more to help more people make more money, all without coming off as a slimy salesperson that only wants to go ahead and take the money. I'm going to break everything down to how you can go ahead and do this. So go ahead, let's jump in right now.
What we are going to be talking about today is how to sell without being slimy. Now, one of the biggest gripes, complaints, things that I hear from coaches is that they love what they do, yet they can't stand selling. They feel like they need to hard press someone, or a lot of coaches out there, they just it's more sales rather than value driven. So I'm going to break down the step-by-step process and main things that I have found about how you can sell without being slammed, yet still make a ton of money and help a ton of people. So the three things that we're going to be covering today are in here behind these 3 points. And the very first one that I'd like to discuss with you guys, very first point though, on how to sell without being slammed, we're going to break down the sales process that you could do that is very value driven. Because that's a typical thing that I see with a lot of coaches. They're very value driven. So, typical sales process of what you go ahead and do is obviously you get a lead of some sort. So that's step number one. And then from there, I should get actually zoom back one more. Before you actually get the lead, typically you see an ad or a DM is sent, or just some sort of outreach or some piece of content, right? So this is essentially step one that comes there. Okay. Now, once that happens, there's typically some sort of item that is sent to the person. You call it a lead magnet. You can call it a bunch of different things on it. And ultimately, the whole purpose of that is to go ahead and get the person's name, phone number, and email for them to turn into just a prospect, something that sees it, into an actual lead. Now, this is where we're actually going to go ahead and start it in the sales process. So we have to lead. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. And for coaches that are looking to lead with value, they don't want to come off as super salesy. And I'll say that point number one. Another thing that I'm going to share with you is that right now, there was a general social survey that was done here in the States. And what it found is that person-to-person trust is at one of the lowest points ever in recorded history here in the States. So we all know that that's just number one. Number two, Google actually went ahead, they took thousands of businesses and they said, and they wanted to figure out what Google did with the study of thousands of businesses is they wanted to understand how many touch points, how much interaction does a prospect, a possible customer, need to have in order to turn into a paying client of them. And what they found is that on average, they called it the 7-11-4. And what it is 7 hours worth of content that the person needs to consume over 11 different touch points and 4 different mediums. Why am I bringing this up? Because we have, number one, on one side, coaches that just want to provide value. From a second piece too, about why you want to go a more value-driven approach, we have all these things. Trust is at extremely low levels. Google found that it takes a lot more touch points to go ahead and interact with your client before they're actually willing to go ahead and do it, let alone the fact we all know there's a couple bad actors inside of this coaching space that have really tainted the image of all coaches in this. And so you have a lot of people that are extraordinarily skeptical to go ahead and move forward. So coming back to it, the way that you can go ahead and circumvent that, the way that you can go ahead and lead with value is you have some sort of lead, right? So whether they, for example, in my example, you guys opt into a school community. Cool. Now, what's going to go ahead and happen from there is we're going to go ahead and prompt you guys to go ahead and hop on a free value call. And now, once again, this isn't the way that you need to do it. This is what I found, and you're able to lead with a lot of value and everything. Okay. So comes from a lead, and then you go ahead and you offer some sort of free value call. Now, what happens on this value call? You go ahead and you ask questions. You get to understand the person. What are the problems that they're facing? All of that. Now, and essentially what this is, because let's say that you didn't do this. Another way that you could go about it is an appointment setting call, right? And on this appointment setting call, you're going to be doing something very similar. The appointment setting call will typically last around, let's say 10 to 15 minutes versus a value call is typically around 30 minutes. So yes, it is longer. Don't get me wrong. Ultimately, what you're doing in this appointment setting call is you're understanding the person, you're building rapport, you're understanding where they are now, where they want to be, and the roadblocks that have stopped them from getting there. And then from then you're saying, hey, if I could go ahead and help you get from where you are now to where you want to be, would you be open to hopping on
a demo. You don't phrase it like that, but essentially a sales call is what it is. So that's what the appointment setting call, and that's one direction you can go. If we're looking to go a much more value-driven approach, instead what we can do is we go from lead straight into the value call, and you're doing something very similar on the value call. The beautiful part behind it, though, is that you are releasing so much sales resistance from the person. You're still doing all the fact-finding, you're still building rapport, and then at the end, you are going to ask them to go into step number 4, which is going to be your demo, aka your sales call, right? And ultimately, though, the thing is that you can go ahead with your value call. You could build so much more rapport and also lead with value with the person. Because what happens is that for the first, let's call it 10, 15 minutes, you're just getting to know the person. You're understanding their needs, their wants, their business. And not only does this allow you to then turn around for the remaining 15 minutes of the value call and provide value, typically about 10 minutes, I'd say, of providing value, the last 5 minutes being the transition into the demo, what you're able to do, you're able to gather so much information that leads you into being more successful inside of your demo. Because we have to remember, people buy things to solve a problem. So if we don't understand what this person's problem that they're currently facing is, and not only what their problem actually is, but what their perceived problem is. Because remember, value is always determined in the mind of the buyer, not by us. So even though we know that they might need 1, 2, and 3, in their head, they feel that they only need number 3 in order to be successful. So of course I want to open people's mind, but if someone's like, yes, I want to work with you and do this, and I need your help with building number 3, awesome, I'm going to help you build number 3. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to sell them on it with also keeping in mind, I'm going to give them 3 and give them number 1 and 2. So zooming back out into the sales process, we have a lead. We go ahead and we prompt them to go ahead and book some sort of value call. And then from then they go ahead and they book a demo to have some sort of conversation with us to move forward. Now, some people might be very serious. They're like, look, Chris, I get what you're doing here. Let's just hop straight to the sales call. Cool. If somebody wants to do that, we jump straight to the sales call. For the majority of people, depending especially on the industry and niche, they want some sort of value call. They want to know, like, and trust you a little bit more before then. Now, there's ways that we can automate this system, but once again, we're talking about how to craft a sales process that is value-driven and one that makes you come off not slimy. And then obviously from the demo, the goal is to go ahead and close them, and they go ahead and become a paying client of yours, and you can go ahead and help them achieve their outcome. So this is the overarching sales process that you can implement in order to not come off as slimy, not come off as a slick back hair salesman, someone that really just wants to provide value. Because what are you doing? You're coming from the ad, you're going into a lead, and you're like, look, hey, I'm not going to go ahead and say, I even say that on the value calls. Look, I'm not going to sell you, and I don't sell them. What happens is I get to know them for the first 10, 15 minutes. I just ask a bunch of questions. Then I give advice for about 10 minutes. And then at the end, I'm like, hey, I told you I'm not going to sell you. If there's a way that I could get you from, your current 5K per month to your goal of 25K, is that something that you'd be open to at least having a call about us possibly partnering to do that? Yeah, I would. Awesome. And then now it's very fluid and everything. And you're even upfront, like, look, this call is 100% value. Like, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask you some more questions. We're going to have a conversation about possibly partnering together. And in full transparency, it's not free to work together. If I could really get you to that 25K per month goal that you're wanting, could you justify actually investing in us working together to helping you get there? Yes. Awesome. Now there's no pressure. None of these things happen. And it all comes because you just simply added this one little piece in of the value call. Now, don't get me wrong. Does this slow down your process? Absolutely. But like I said, you can't have, for the people that are absolutely ready just to go straight into the demo, you can have that. And you have it there. A beautiful part too is that when you have the value call, you can have emails, you could have stuff inside of a school community, you could have SMS messages, you could have it right after they book or after they opt in to whatever your lead magnet is, to book directly on the value call. So you can bypass the appointment setting process on that and just directly speak to the individuals. So coming back to it, that is the sales process. That is point number 1. Point number 2 that I want to go ahead and talk with is I'm actually going to move over away from my iPad, and I'm actually going to come over to my computer.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chris. A lot of you leave comments and send DMs to me telling me that you need help. Do me a favor. I'm going to tell you the best way to get a hold of me. Shoot me a text message right now at 949-990-5808. Once again, that's 949-990-5808. I'll help you with whatever you guys need. I got your back. Let's get back to the video.
I want to give a bit more reality about what these numbers could actually look like and how you could go ahead and start, implementing this into your business, and would this actually make sense? So I'm going to come here
and share my computer screen. You guys should be able to go ahead and see it now. Instead of my iPad screen, we're going to go ahead and see spend, CPM, CTR, conversion rate, all of that. Now, one of the best ways that I go ahead and I recommend people to grow their coaching business is through paid ads. Why is that the case? A lot more consistency. You're able to reverse engineer numbers. And I'm doing the same exact thing here because ultimately within it, and I know that these are a lot of numbers, I'm going to seek to simplify this for you real quick because we're talking about how to come off sale, how to do sales without being slimy, without seeming like Slick Rick that just wants to take their money. And so we talked about the sales process, and there's going to be some people naturally like, oh, well, Chris, is this really going to work or not? Let's break it down. So let's go ahead and say that you spend $1,000 in a month, okay? CPM is essentially, for anybody that doesn't know, it stands for cost per million. It basically means how much does it cost me to put my ad in front of 1,000 people's eyeballs, 1,000 people that I choose. Now, CPM will vary based on the industry. Let's call it $40, even $45, okay? Now, your click-through rate out of every single person that your ad gets put in front of, what percentage of people actually click on, okay? Let's call it 1.75. Then from there, now that these people clicked on your ad, they got on your landing page to go ahead and give you their name, phone number, and email. What percentage of these people actually converted into leads for you? Let's call it 25%. Cool. So at this point, we spent $1,000 and we have 97 leads. Awesome. We're good. Now the next step, because remember, go back to the sales process. What do? We go lead and we get them onto a value call. Amazing. So let's say that of the 97 leads, 45% of them we actually get in communication with. We either text them, we call them, something happens, right? Then from there, that leads us to 43 people that are in communication. Let's say 60% of those people that we get in communication with end up booking a value call. Awesome. So now we have 26 people, right, from $1,000 that have booked a value call with us. Now, let's say that the show percentage is only 70%, which means 18 people are actually going to go ahead and get on a value call with us. Of the 18 people, 60% of them are going to go ahead and be like, you know what, Chris? Yeah, I really like what you're saying. Like, yeah, let's have a conversation to figure out how I can get to my 25K per month goal. We say, okay, amazing. 11 people get booked on a demo. 80% of them show up. So we have just under 9, right? People that have demos. Let's even say you have a 20% close rate. You have a pretty bad close rate and you go ahead and you're selling a $5,000 package. You have still turned $1,000 into $8,800. Right? And I know that these are a bunch of numbers like Chris, like my head is bulging with information. All that this is just breaking down everything step by step. Now, why am I sharing this with you? We're talking about doing sales without being slimy. Because I want to show you the reality of what can really happen, still providing value, not coming off and trying to be Slick Rick. I'm just going to take it. No. I'm going to lead with value. I'm going to go ahead and help you and guide you in all of these different things. And you're going to go ahead and spend $1,000 and on the back end, you're going to make $8,000. Now, the beautiful part is that you can continue to improve all these different things. So instead of a 20% close rate, let's say you have a 30% close rate. You went from let's call it $9,000 almost to $13,000 now, right? And let's say you can go ahead and improve the people that actually show up on your value calls and say you get 75%. You went from 13 to 14. So this is the fun part that I love behind running and building coaching business, especially doing it with paid ads, because now there's consistency. You can see if for some reason people aren't converting on it, 15% instead of 25%, we're still positive. Let's even say it's only 10%. Okay, look, you're still positive. We still get a 5x return on every dollar we put in. And so if that's the case, then instead of $1,000, let's spend $5,000. And now we're going to get $28,000. So this is the really cool part behind it. And the reason why I wanted to add this into the mastermind today, as we're breaking this stuff down, because I wanted to give you a reality of like, okay, can this actually work? Can I actually make money if I will go ahead and lead with value? Absolutely can. So I'm going to jump back into my iPad screen so we can continue on to point number 3. So once again, guys, that was point number 2, reverse engineering. I wanted to give you some reality of what the numbers could really look like. And these numbers that I showed you, they're not astronomical. They're not way out there. We could even way decrease the numbers and still be profitable, even if you get a 2x return on ad spend. Don't get me wrong, it's not amazing. But if I gave you a machine that said for every $1 you put in, you get $2 back, I think a lot of us would take that machine and put as much money as we can into it. So reverse engineering, giving you reality of, okay, the sales process that is value-driven, it can actually work. And then number 3 that we're going to go ahead and talk about is actual sales tactics. What things can you keep in mind, do on the calls and everything in order to sell more, right? Because that's the whole thing. We have to also remember sales, and I'm actually going to go ahead and come here as we talk about sales tactics, because this is actually one of the foundational pieces, okay? Sales tactics. And some of us may have heard this before, but we need to remember this. Sales is equal to service. Because as much as I want to go ahead and help people, I do have to put food on the table. I have to provide for people. I have to do a bunch of different things that in the current capitalistic society requires money. So with that said, I can't just go ahead and go on free call. I should say I can, but it wouldn't really make sense for me to get on free calls all day, every day. On top of that too, we all know that the more that people pay, the more that they pay attention. And an extension of that, if somebody actually pays me to teach them how to grow their code, they're going to take it a lot more serious. They're going to actually implement the information I have. So not only seeing it as I'm taking someone's money, but I'm doing somebody a service. I am helping get them from where they are now to where they want to be. Because ultimately, if people had all the tools that they needed in order to be successful, why wouldn't they already be successful? Why haven't they already done it themselves? So we have to all remember that yes, we might be asking for $10,000, $5,000, $25,000, however much it is. We have to keep in our mind though, that we're helping this person get to something that they feel is really important to them. And that's where the fact-finding aspect of sales is so important, because once again, people buy things to solve a problem, and we can't understand, does this person actually have a problem, actually have a pain point that we can help them with? So ultimately, if they do have that, we are helping them. We're helping get them to that next step. So coming back to sales tactics, we talked about sales as a service and helping people go from where they are now to where they want to be. One of the biggest things that we want to go ahead and keep in mind is helping. And I basically touched upon it, okay? When we genuinely, two things actually, I'm going to say helping and care. When we genuinely care about the person on the other side, not just seeing them as a dollar sign, but seeing them as a brother and sister in Christ, whatever your belief is, okay? Seeing them as a brother and sister. I believe in brother and sister in Christ. When we see them like that, and we genuinely care, and we genuinely want to help them, and genuinely want to guide them from where they are now to where they want to be, everything becomes a lot easier. You don't feel like you're needing to push. Imagine if, let's say, one of your loved ones, I'm going to use an extreme example because we'll get the point across. One of your loved ones comes to you and tells you that they have stage 4 terminal cancer and they're going to die in a week. And then a doctor who you just so happened to come across had this cure to the cancer. Now, I'm talking theoreticals here. Let's say they had a cure to the cancer, and you knew that it would go ahead and help your loved one actually overcome this so they can go ahead and live more, live life happily, healthily, all of that. You would speak with so much conviction that they needed to do this, right? And that's another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to sales tactics, conviction, okay? And conviction, and I for anybody that doesn't know, a large chunk of my time in the coaching space, I spent teaching a sales coaching business. And during that time period, we had over 4,000 high ticket clients that came through and sought to be taught by me and my team, and obviously the people all around me, to go ahead and learn how to become high ticket salespeople. And through all of that, through all the reps, through all the iterations, through the people going out and actually taking jobs, and then people getting the information, I got a pretty good understanding of, first of all, the entire aspect of sales, number one, but then number two, what are the most important levers? What are the most important things that you can change in your sales pitch, in your mindset, in the tactics to make it so that you sell more? And one of those biggest things is conviction. Alongside these things right here, that's exactly what I'm talking to you about, guys. When you have conviction and you genuinely care about helping someone, it's game over, because you're speaking from your heart. It's not a matter of, oh, I think you need to do this. No. You are in a burning building. You are about to die from stage 4 terminal cancer. I need you to trust me, and I need you to go ahead and take this. And the thing is, though, is that conviction can only come when you are sold on the product that you're selling. And a lot of coaches that I speak to, they say, well, Chris, I haven't done it yet, or I haven't got testimonials. Okay, I understand. I have a question for you, though. Are you committed to your client success? Yeah, of course I am. Okay, cool. Will you do as much in your power to make sure that your client is successful? Of course. Okay, cool. So why wouldn't you be sold on yourself then? If you're a problem solver, if you can figure things out, and you know that you have a heart and you genuinely want to help this person, would you say that there's a higher probability or a lower probability that if they partner with you, that if they pay money,
that they will be successful. And 9 times out of 10, if not even more than that, it typically is that by them partnering with you, rather than them trying to figure out themselves, they will get to their outcome. They will get to where they want to be, right? Their goal faster. And so with that said, even if you don't have a bunch of case studies and testimonials, obviously you have case studies and testimonials, you help people. This should be easy. For some people, it's unfortunately not. And you just need to understand your own value and worth and how you're really going to go and help people on it. Even if you haven't though, do you have a genuine care to help people? And if that is the case, are you committed to your client's success? Because if so, you should be sold on yourself. There's nothing else about it, because we know that there's a lot of people out there, especially in this online coaching space, that do not have that genuine care and accountability and making sure and following up that their clients are successful. That's why we made this community, right? We made this community so that the like-minded coaches that are faith-driven, that have a calling by God and genuinely care about helping others can go ahead and spread their platforms and help more people. So as we recap the sales tactics and wrap up our training for today, on sales tactics, we have to remember, number one, sales is service. It's not just taking someone's money. We are helping guide someone from where they are now to where they want to be, which is their goal, the thing that they've always dreamed of, where they want to be. So that's part one. Part two, we have to remember that we have to ensure in our mind that we don't just see the other person on the other side as just a dollar sign. Rather, we see them as a brother and sister or sister in Christ, and we genuinely care about helping them, right? That's number two. Number three, we need to make sure we have conviction, and conviction comes when you are sold on the product or service that you are selling. And so if you are not sold, then you need to go ahead and take a step back and either determine, okay, do I need to change and not be in this space? Or how do I go ahead and I really get the understanding that what I'm selling is freaking amazing and that I'm going to genuinely help people. I'm going to fight tooth and nail, whatever it is, to make sure that this person's successful. And do they have a higher probability of succeeding with me than if they did it by themselves? So these are the tactics that if you really implement and you just keep in your heart, it'll help. I could spend the next 10 hours going through different sales tactics with you about how we can do this and how we can change intonation, how you're going to say this line, whatever. Don't get me wrong, it helps. The most important things that will really move the needle with sales tactics to allow you to close more while also not coming off as slimy and someone that just wants to take their money. When you embody these three sales tactics, everything changes. So recapping everything that we have went ahead and spoke about today, we spoke about how to sell without being slimy. Point number one, we talked about the sales process. We talked about coming from an ad into a lead, into a value call, then transitioning into a demo, and then this person turning into a paying client of yours. Number two, we talked about reverse engineering, and I showed you guys a couple of examples of what it looks like. Actually, this isn't just theoretical numbers. Like, these are actual numbers that come from statistics of people that run ads, people that go ahead and have value calls and everything, and how this method, even though it is not coming off as super hard sales, it's leading with value, how it can still be extraordinarily profitable for you. So that's number two. And then number three is sales tactics. We talked about the most important levers. Yes, I can talk about all the specific sales things here and there, but ultimately, what are the most important things that you can do on your sales calls as you're going through this entire process to go ahead and close more people while coming off more genuine and less slimy? So with that said, that is all that I have for today. We went ahead, obviously broke down how to sell without being slimy.
Hey guys, I wanted to tell you that you are the true coaches and the real students. You made it till the end of the video. Do me a favor, share this with a friend who wants to go to another level. Also, make sure you like the video, comment below so I know who you are, subscribe, and turn on your notifications for the channel as we will be dropping more valuable content every single day. See you soon.